Thank you for your time and thank you for agreeing to participate in our interview.
Thank you, Anna.
And
It's a pleasure.
that you are the Chief Commercial Officer at Spotship right now. What does your day-to-day look like?
Well, thanks for the question, first of all. And yes, that's correct. So for the past year or so, I have worn the hat of Chief Commercial at Spotship, which, as it sounds, it means that my duties are mainly concerned with managing the commercial aspects of the company's operations. So in other words, it's how do we make money? But let's say that revenue generation and the business growth are not the only daily targets for me. Given I'm also one of the main industry experts in the company, I tend to help when it comes to the product development and also the long-term strategy. So yeah, as long as I also have a few of the admin and general decision-making tasks, which my executive role also asks for. And yeah, if we have to think of my day, it actually looks like a pile of colored blocks in a Google Calendar column. And each one is asking some time for me to dedicate to client demos or trainings or one-to-ones and internal meetings, product calls, you name it. So that's how the day looks.
And how did you decide to take up a career in shipping in the first place?
That's a good question. So I would say shipping is connected to my family background, as my dad has been shipping for the past, well, almost 40 years now, and enormously inspired me to follow this career path. And so when I was hearing his shipping stories at a young age, I'd always feel very excited and decided I too wanted to be part of that excitement. The next natural step for me arrived when I had to take a choice, let's say, decide something on an educational level that was post-undergrad. And I came across the existence of this shipping, trade, and finance course at the what is now called the Base Business School, which I think completely legitimized in my eyes the choice of pursuing a shipping career. And I think that there I discovered for the first time the vastness of the industry and how many people knew about it and worked in it, and the many possibilities that opened up for me to choose from also professionally, let's say. I also started interviews not even halfway into the course, and I just felt that that was the right path for me. So I think those were the first steps in it.
And I understand you also had experience as a charterer and in shipbroking. From that standpoint, how do you think technology in the current day plays a role in modern shipping?
Yeah, very, very interesting question as well. Yes, so I think my experience as a shipbroker has provided me mainly with a commercial angle from which I look at any given point in my life. I have always looked at the industry from that viewpoint. I would say that it's exactly, if I look at it from a commercial level, the shipping industry is a niche sector composed of sophisticated professionals that interrelate within a close network. Not much information or output of any kind is really exchanged with the wider public, I would say, and there is very little applicability of their processes to the rest of the business world. It is also for this reason that I think technological change has been very slow to take place, given that any potential disruptor really finds scarce financial incentive and general lack of economies of scale to drive what would be a very substantial investment in the industry. I would say from a technological point of view, so far there is very little improvements in commercial shipping software. So unfortunately, the industry is technophobic at large. So very little has been able to be developed and to stick to the, let's say, in a long-term way. I think this further highlights how ship tech is actually a very exciting sector of this decade. As platforms nowadays, try to be released and to help optimize costs and multiply returns and improve security and serve many other functions to the entire industry that just very short time ago was still served by very basic instruments. and yeah, I think from my viewpoint, it will be important for many different types of technology to come into play. I think in a general quest to digitalization, and this can include AI and machine learning and robotics and blockchain and many more. I mean, you name it. There's many things coming along, and definitely can be applicable to the industry as well. I think the global focus of sustainability and general change can provide the ideal environment for software adoption and for open-mindedness in the industry.
And is there anything in particular that you're keeping an eye for in 2024 regarding to this?
Yeah, I would probably, if we have to speak always about software, I would generalize, maybe I would break it down into three main categories. I think they're very applicable. The tech would have to provide some assistance into, yeah, three main sectors. I think it's the number one would probably be durable returns. So any of these softwares which or tools in general which can help reduce voyage friction and lower any fixed and variable costs and reduce volatility for ship owners at large. And second category would probably be the ESG. So technology that can improve transparency, reduce emissions, and basically the impact of ESG on the cost of capital is going to be, it already plays a very important role. And it's going to play an even more important role coming in the future. And the third one, probably data-led software and any analytics. So this is the category of software that is needed in, for market interpretation and forecasting, which will always be more in demand and as integrated as possible with all the other variables which come into play with with the business. So the cargo side and the weather and the port infrastructure and more.
So if we look for like the global desire for us to achieve a sustainable and secure and affordable global economy, do you think technology will play the biggest catalyst, or it will be something else?
I think for general energy sustainability and affordability, and also for the security as well of energy. So these three main goals, I think there's probably a couple of catalysts these days. If we think of geopolitics and pandemics and sustainability, all these are very fair goals that the economy and the industry, more specifically, so shipping, is chasing. These are all very overwhelming events that I think to some degree give the feeling to the industry of having lost control in a way in its future outcomes, and to which players, I think, definitely react to. So these are, I think, all incentives for basically for the industry to try to regain that control. And they can only achieve this by building and deploying new instruments and technologies. So yes, technology is part of the solution that can allow to basically lower the unpredictability of their operations. And I think in a way clear the fog of the chaos, and this chaos being the wars and the new policies and whatnot that are happening all at the same time. So all their efforts probably in the next years will be in fact accelerated in order to achieve energy, sustainability, affordability, and security, in an effort to feel they once again dominate their markets and their results.
So in the global flow of events and how the shipping evolves, what is your perception of female leaders in the field?
So yeah, female leaders in shipping. I would say, as with many other competitive and high stake and very capital intensive markets, the presence of females is generally scarce, and even more so probably when we look at leadership roles. And I have had experience also as a Vista member for many years. So I have a bit of, numbers in my head because we've been discussing, leaders in shipping in many different occasions. I would say that if we speak about the shore-based roles is even probably less of a of an impact than if we speak of, so basically these are the office and managerial positions. If we speak then of seafarers, which represent an even lower percentage, about 2-3% of the entire workforce, these probably are numbers that can be compared to the military or construction workers. In this case, I believe it is even tougher for women to generate and maintain interest in jobs with basically difficult work conditions and physical exertion. In this second case, I do believe that working conditions contribute differently to the gender gap. But today, 2024, I think this does not mean that there are none, and that we should approach this reduced number in a radical or feminist way. There is definitely lower access to these jobs for women, but just as much, I think there is a lower interest from them to participate. I would say as a woman in shipping, I do represent a minority in what is still today a very strongly male-dominated industry. But with respect to when I started, I feel it is less conservative and close-minded towards change. Therefore, my feeling is we have made steps ahead. These improvements are also driven by the fact that the industry is becoming more global, it's more corporate, and it's able to apply gender respect and fairness, I would say. Especially in younger companies, a potential woman candidate with equal abilities to a male candidate, of course, is usually seen as a premium for diversity of skills, and I think even more likely to be hired these days. So the industry is not perfect, but times are definitely changing.
Is there anything you would tell your younger self when you were just starting in shipping?
I think when I was younger, I was quite fearless and not very easily intimidated, which greatly helped in my commercial role. If I could, I would just probably comfort my younger self to keep on working hard as I did and to own my position and to use emotional intelligence and intuition when navigating many of the gender-related challenges of a growing professional in a male-dominated industry. I would say that probably as much as it applies to women, it can also apply to what we call today in society the non-alpha males in the industry trying to find their place. I like to remind them all of that unique personality traits, if used with self-confidence, are always a plus and highly respected. And we just need to learn how to do that, not necessarily how to fit in.
From that standpoint, do you think the industry lacks something, or you would add something to the industry of how it is today?
If we still relate to this subject, so let's say female in shipping, perhaps the biggest reason why there aren't any more women in the maritime sector is simply a lack of knowledge that it's one of the available career paths. So sometimes having a family member that makes you realize that is the case can obviously help. Although, for example, in my case, my own family did not think it would be the right path for women to work in. So I would say, as with any other industry and profession, raising awareness and speaking more about success stories of women that have access and well handled a career in their specific role can make it look like a possibility in a young girl's eyes. So women need to know that there are a growing number of women working in the industry and that a career path for them is not too out of the ordinary.
Thank you so much for your time.
It's my pleasure.